Welcome everyone to another episode of my podcast, and today, as always, I'm delighted to have my guests. I have the awesome Shane Mahi, as in the fish, and we were just talking about fish restaurants. Maybe we'll come on to that later. Now, I came across Shane through the awesome SalesDRIIVN. I know you've heard me talk about the SalesDRIIVN before, salesdrivn.ai. Go and have a look there. And Shane is the co-founder?
CEO. Founder and CEO.
Co-founder and CEO of SalesDRIIVN, which he describes as an intelligent business growth. You've got business intelligence, human intelligence, artificial intelligence, growth intelligence. We'll dive into that. Fundamentally, Shane is reinventing how you outsource sales, I think it's fair to say. And so I thought it'd be great to get Shane onto this podcast because obviously, everything that's happened in the last 18 months or so has changed the way that we sell. There's big debate in the market around kind of the SDR AE kind of complex. The churn rate in the SDR world is still very high. Yeah, there seems to be lots of roles for SDRs still being hired. So enough about me. Shane, who, what, why, when, where? Let's hear your story before we get into this.
All right. So who, what, when, where, and why. So who am I? Shane Mahi. I'm a loud, outspoken, ambitious individual that likes to do things easier. I like to make life easier. What do? I am trying to build the future of sales with an outsourced model that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
An outsourced model that really works. It delivers a result where the customer or our partners are able to say, yeah, that worked. Like they actually did it. Why do I want to do it? How is the explicit language on here? Is it bad or is it? Do we?
Yeah, if you want to swear, we'll just give a quick.
I fucking hated working for a corporation. I hated hearing feedback from my clients on how poor the outcome was, or you did not deliver this when it was never under my control. So yeah. I wanted to build a company that actually delivered value. I wanted to build a company that companies knew that performance was a standard that they could really adhere to. When did we start it? Midst of the pandemic, March, they said, go home. Like we were just waiting for this day to happen. And God said, go take a break, everybody. Go sit down and just go figure out what you want to do. And for like 6 months, I was playing Xbox, playing chess with my mates, and I was like, this really isn't cutting it. Let me just start a business. And I knew my mouth always got me either in trouble or in good places. So I figured, let me make money out of this thing that keeps motorizing daily. So started figuring out who would be the best fit and built a team of ambitious people that I've always trusted. I knew wanted to take it to the next level. And we decided to push it forward, and come July, we registered the business. October, November, we started taking on our first clients, and we've been off to the races ever since.
That's
and
awesome.
In a nutshell, that's me.
That's fantastic. And I think what has been interesting, notwithstanding obviously the human cost of everything through the pandemic, is that it has enabled people to kind of take a step back from whatever role, whatever industry they're in. And we're now starting to see this is that there's potentially going to be a talent shortage in some industries because people are like, you know what, bollocks to this. I'm not coming back into this.
Yeah, exactly.
Better way. Life's, life is too short. There's more to just the corporate machine. So that's awesome that you kind of saw the opportunity and kind of roll up your bootstraps, as they say, and got stuck into it. So outsourcing sales. Well, that's always been an interesting one for me because back in my days when I was at PwC, we used an outsource. I mean, it's about 10 years ago now, if not longer, just to set meetings with companies to kind of sell. Do you want a new tax advisor type sort of thing? And to be honest, the experience the company was very good. They were very professional, but the experience for us was pretty poor because the way that they were kind of motivated was just kind of set meetings rather than necessarily the outcome of the meeting. So 99% of the meetings, we kind of rocked up and they were like, who are you? Why are you here? What? No, we've already got one now. Thanks for no thanks. Sorry, it was a wasted trip, but yeah, I can't even remember why I booked this meeting. And I always had a strange thing in terms of outsourcing sales, because it's not, you know, you're not actually the working for the company. Therefore, do you truly believe in what it is that you're doing, or are you just basically a gun for hire? So one could say that's the same for a lot of unhappy SDRs and salespeople anyway, in terms of their current roles. So what is it that you're doing? I know we were talking about this on WhatsApp when I was kind of working through on one of your slides. You know, you've got business intelligence, you've got human intelligence, you've got artificial intelligence, you've got growth intelligence. You know what I'm going to say? That feels like a lot of kind of business lingo, saying the things that people want to hear, almost confusion through language. So let's actually break it down. What is it that you're doing that's maybe different, that some of our listeners may have experienced, or the perceptions they had of an outsourced, let's call it what it is, kind of cold calling telesales shop type sort of thing?
So the way I usually describe it is we're calibrating your vision.
Okay.
And with 4 pillars, we're able to do that. So the first element of human intelligence, let's just say that's one of the first pillars. And any type of technology can be fantastic, but if you don't have the right type of humans operating that technology, you're going to be lost. So anybody that operates any one of the technologies that we use, they are intelligent, number one, because they've gone through the technology, they understand the technology, and they understand how to produce outcomes from the use of that technology. The artificial intelligence pillar is speed. It's based on speed, it's based on performance, and how are we able to process and analyze data much quicker in an intelligent way, so those outcomes that you are produced are data driven. And that's what that pillar is based on. It's the use of AI to clear up that vision again. So if we base the entire picture off of going to Specsavers, right? You go into Specsavers because you probably have a problem with not being able to see clearly. What we are doing is we're putting on those goggles and adding on a new lens with each different pillar to clear out that picture, so you can see A, B, C, D, E, F, G throughout the whole picture, right? The growth intelligence model is, how do we grow your company intelligently? Okay. It's not just throwing a whole bunch of shit at the wall. It's actually using certain models, using certain strategies by people that we follow or people that we are directed by. For example, our chairman, Marcus Kauke. What does he advise us to do to help a company grow? So one company that we're working with, Flowformer, they're a codeless automation company. They're trying to get to their first round of investing. So we've developed a growth model that is going to take them from 1.9 million to 2.4 million by the end of our work this year. And then last but not least is the business intelligence. So the business intelligence is a pillar of our company that we're actually growing. The business intelligence is finding out, again, how do we clear up that vision for you? But what type of intelligence can we bring you to push people further down your sales funnel, so that when you do speak to them, you have more information about them, you have more knowledge about them. The call or the meeting is a lot warmer because you understand their world, and that's without even having that 30-minute discussion. It's just that opening communication, building that curiosity, doing our work on business intelligence to bring them into that meeting with you, so that you have those 4 pillars of your house, for example, in place. And then when we work with the company, we can start adding on joists, we can start adding on flooring, we can add all the aesthetics that build that house and make it the final product. That's really what that comes down to. That's it in a nutshell.
So then it's more than just setting meetings. You are actually helping organizations with, you know, that example that you gave. You know, we want to get to here. You're mapping out that journey for them from a revenue generation perspective on how they're going to get there. Could that then be that their own sales team executes on that, not you executing it, but you've given them the roadmap or the blueprint of the house, if you will, in terms of this is what you need to build it. And this is the map, or the instructions that if you follow this and do this and execute upon this, then potentially supported with your AI and your BI, and then possibly the human aspect as well, you can then get into that. So it's dare I say, quasi going. That's more going to the advisory consulting space as much as anything.
Yeah, because we've always been, we've had the notion that telemarketing, you're a telemarketing agency, you're an outsourced meeting, appointment setter, and it's not. That's not what we want to focus on, because setting the meeting is only one portion of the game, right? It's only one portion of the puzzle. The entire workload that goes into building that meeting or creating that meeting, that's where we fit in. That's what we are focusing on. It's not just the list, go and get these. It's all right, it's the list. Does this list make sense? Does it fit with your company? Does the ICP have these challenges? Do we have these right talk tracks? How are we building the criteria for that? How are we mapping out those lists? How are we assigning those lists? How are we prioritizing this? How are we scoring those lists? And then actually, how are we building a structure that allows you to go into those lists and build the curiosity, build enough engagement? And then it's like putting pieces in a puzzle, right? It's putting them in the right places. So it definitely comes more down, it's more towards the entire development of your sales structure from start to finish, rather than just a list, go and get meetings. We want to outsource sales and just go guess what you have to do. Here's the baseline. It's no, we're building an actual picture. We're putting the lens on. We're giving you those bifocals, so you have laser clear goggles that take you where you need to go.
And do you in terms of your client base, and I appreciate you're kind of, you're still young in your journey, do they have existing kind of sales functions at the moment which aren't I'm going to admit that may be unfair on them, but aren't necessarily performing? And then are you replacing them, or is it again you're kind of working alongside the existing sellers, as it were, to support them in terms of the actual, I'm talking about the setting meetings?
Yeah. So in this instance, one client that is our major focus right now is a very interesting company. They've always worked on an inbound model.
Okay.
And they've never done outbound before. They've never had success because outsource agencies have always pretty much fucked up. They've never had a good result with them. So with their inbound model, when the pandemic hit, they realized those inquiries weren't coming in as quick. They needed a quick fix to go out to market and bring in more leads into the funnel that actually made sense, but more importantly, that fit the criteria of their accepted opportunities. So in this instance, we went outbound, we created the right type of lists, we used our AI modeling to replicate their existing customer behaviors, and we found new prospects that fit that criteria, right? That fit the bill. And we've gone out, we built the curiosity, we've engaged with these individuals, and we've brought them into their sales funnel so that their inbound team, who notoriously was successful with inbound lead generation and speaking to those, we're feeding outbound leads into their inbound teams, their account executives, their telemarketing guys, so they can now experience the added layer of work that comes with outbound, but more importantly, a full flush sales pipeline of opportunities that you have big names that you would have never got before, as well as the scattered inbound leads that are fluctuating. They're coming in regularly, but we're working with their inbound team, feeding them meetings that are arranged, scheduled, fit their criteria, so that they can really take their revenue to that next level. Awesome.
And I'm hearing the kind of whole AI piece in kind of sales at the moment. I think we're in an interesting space, but it is also this concept and the ideal customer. And speaking to Rob Turley over at White Rabbit Intel in terms of what they do, I know Marcus advises them as well. So let's go into this kind of AI model a little bit further in terms of what you're doing. So if I've understood correctly, let's take the example you've just given me. Are you're able to analyze or look at their existing customer base, like guessing on kind of CRM data, finance data, whatever it might be, and then you've got a piece of technology which can then kind of look at that and then map that against third-party data or map that against something else to go, okay, we know this is good, but those of you that are listening, I'm now going, over here, we know this is good. Over there, we think this could be a good fit. Is that kind of what you're doing?
So the way I describe it is you go into company X, and company X, hopefully they will have a decent amount of data against people that they work with or do business, their clients. What we do is we take the one opportunity, so the people they've won business with, active clients, and we offset that data against companies or individuals that have given them a hard no, right? Those are the two criteria that you get. Now you marry those up into an Excel sheet, you process that data through White Rabbit, and what pops out is a profile, right? An ideal profile and an ideal company profile that mirrors their behaviors, their inspirations, their attitudes, certain things that they search for. We don't have the exact details of the content that they search for, but the behaviors based on, from what I know, billions of sources on the open web, public information that they're able to extract. And that's what builds that profile. Now, what's confusing for some people is you can have the surface level information, but what's behind that is the brain. So if you look at me, you can see my facial features, you can see the color of my skin, the color of my hair, but you don't know what's going on in my brain. You know, don't know what's going on in my thought process. This is basically what that technology allows you to do. So once you have that avatar or that profile of that perfect customer, you then go out and source new data that mirrors that, run that against the profile, and then that will allow you to score and prioritize your leads. And then that's how you follow up and engage with each and every one of the scored prospect based on the level of multi-threaded approach, the level of intensity, the level of engagement, and so on and so forth.
So it sounds like, and it's interesting in terms of, because I know that I'm nowhere near as sophisticated as what White Rabbit's doing, but it's interesting if you look at where Sales Navigator's going. You know, they've now got their sales insights and starting to unlock some of that data. You know, LinkedIn is a goldmine. If they open that up properly, I mean, we could have people who knew what they were doing have a hell of a lot of fun, right?
Exactly.
But you know, starting to, you know, we're hearing this. I did a podcast recently with Mary Shea from Outreach in talking around kind of this revenue intelligence and how it's what we're starting to see in the world of sales. And I believe this is what I think what you're doing is really interesting, because you're the bleeding edge of this, whereas a lot of sales, you know, some of the chat in WhatsApp group recently has been hilarious in terms of some pretty pissed off people about their view on their RevOps leaders and so on and so forth. Is that it seems the industry is still so far behind the curve in all of this. It's we just put data into a system, and whether it's you're doing a cold call, whether you're doing email, whether you're doing a marketing campaign, whether you're doing something on social, it's just plug this data in. We don't really kind of look at it. We're not going to poke around in it, and just, you know, to your earlier point, we're going to spray enough of it at the wall. Some of it's going to stick. Some of it's going to stick right. And I think that for me is, and again, why I think the sales boards is such a fascinating group to be part of. All these different minds and different opinions, different industries, is that where this is all going. And that's why I'm glad that you do have the human intelligence piece on your site in terms of what you do. Is those organizations that recognize that they haven't got the skill sets to do this, so they either try and hire, or they come to, you know, they come to someone like you, because, you know, if we look at the narrative in terms of the churn rate in SDR world, it's still massively high. If we look at the narrative, apparently people, you know, still not hitting quota, which last 5 years we've not hitting quotas. So something is kind of fundamentally still not working. So where, and I know we've been talking about the data piece on WhatsApp as well. Where do you kind of see this going? You know, with what Rob's doing at White Rabbit, what you see we're doing, you know, LinkedIn's now doing with their sales insights. You look at the outreaches, the sales lofts, the gongs out there. I've been speaking to people at Microsoft. It sounds like Microsoft's got some pretty interesting stuff coming out on the Dynamics platform, which is going to be basically all of this wrapped into one. But speaking with the clients that you're talking to, and then where the kind of vision is, where do you believe the role of the salesperson is going to go?
My ideal vision has been individuals who are leaders are going to be able to silo themselves.
Yeah.
Whether they get into a performance-driven company that really excels, or they'll be able to build their own kind of system around their individual profile. So what I envisage at SalesDRIIVN is to be able to provide business leaders, sales professionals with an all-in-one solution that holds data, holds a connect and sell predictive or pad dialer.
Yeah.
It has all the sequencing in it. It has everything that you need to become like the ultimate salesperson. And then you go to companies and you can sell for them, right? I think for me, I think it's going to be a lot of the power players they're going to silo themselves. They're going to go individually, and then they're going to go to companies fully kitted up, ready to produce. And companies are just going to have to get a lot smarter, because people are realizing very quickly you don't always need a company to make money or to make a living. And if you're doing it the way you want to do it with the best tools you feel are available, you can still produce incredible results. It's just the ones who have the passion to do it, the ones who have the drive to go forward, the ones who are sales driven, versus the ones who are just going to sit there, and me and you both know who they are. They sit there, they wait for a paycheck, and they do just the bare minimum to get by. Those people are going to get kicked out of the door, because when we are able to expand and show people the world, this is what SalesDRIIVN is. This is what really hitting your numbers about, what outcomes are about. That's what I want to create as the new norm, like pure, absolute, ruthless performance that delivers consistently over and over again.
I think it's so what I'm hearing is that it's going back to that. It's kind of the gun for hire version 2, but they are going to be kitted out with, they will go and invest in themselves in this technology and these technology platforms. We mentioned Connect, and Sell in terms of what Jerry and the team are doing, over there. Then it might be a sales engagement platform of there are many out there, and so on. LinkedIn's obviously going to play a part into that. We're not getting into the Sales Navigator piece, but I do find it fascinating that people still don't understand. They still think Sales Navigator is a waste of time and not good value, good value for money. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, really? We're still having this conversation this day. It's good for me because there's opportunity for me in terms of where we're going. So that there'll either be independent consultants, if you will, that just have a portfolio of clients that do this, or they will come and join a SalesDRIIVN per se in terms of your world. And then I think certainly for the large organizations, they're always going to have they're always going to have their sales functions. So I think for fast growing businesses or small to medium sized enterprises, it could be that actually you don't need to have that sales function at all. You just use you use Shane when you kind of need it. And then if you're building a good got a good marketing functions, and you've got that kind of inbound so you got the inbound coming in because you're generating that yourself. But then you kind of almost plug and play a SalesDRIIVN to kind of just have that extra layer on top to give you that extra boost. I think it's going to be an interesting play. And I think also and this is what I was chatting to Mary about, I also believe the professional service market, so FS, insurance, lawyers, accountants, they're nowhere near any of this at the moment. And my view is that once they start to, from a selling perspective, start to get their head around data more effectively and start to actually put some science behind the thinking of what they're doing, the first firms that are going to sort of reach out and do that, I think, are going to start to win big. So with regards to the kind of all of this together, how does it then work? I mean, you have salespeople, right? So you have a team of people who can actually just they have all this technology, and you build all this out, and then part of it is, yes, you're setting, is that setting that initial meeting, or is it meeting 2, meeting 3? Could it be the whole process?
It really depends what the company wants. So we've got one company who just literally wants us to build them the entire go-to-market map and just put their sales team in front of the best type of leads that we can possibly produce, right? Other companies have wanted us to actually set the meetings for them. Other companies, they just want us to introduce the company, provide them with a lead sheet that has all the information, and then they will go and follow up with them themselves. So it's really what the company really wants. We know that, look, providing great leads is something that you can do, but if a company needs that support, they need that extra horsepower, which is why the company SalesDRIIVN is what it is. It's driven, it's about driving fast performance. But if they need that added horsepower, they call us and they say, all right, we talk to them, hey, look, what do you want to do? Do you want leads? Do you want us to set the meeting? Do you want us to actually schedule the meeting? And then a new concept that we're actually bringing on board is we take on that first discovery call, because we both know the value of a second meeting. A second meeting is extremely valuable. Some companies will say, I want 20, 30 meetings a month. Some companies will say, I want 3 perfectly qualified meetings. And if that's the case, then we have a team that their discovery calls are spot on. Everybody's Sandler trained, so we follow a precise model and we get all the pain uncovered. That's what we're building it on. And then we're sitting the client in a meeting where we've identified the pain. Most of the problems and challenges are there, and all they have to do is show them that solution. So it's an array of models that we're working on, but it's really what the client wants. And because we are full sales cycle, we can do it all.
And again, I think the full sales cycle, I think it's good that you're full sales cycle. And this whole AE/SDR complex, as it's described, I think for me is they've almost created their own challenges, because I've always been a full sales cycle. So back in my recruitment days, it was cradle to grave. You had to go find the job, you had to go find the candidate, you had to put your proposal together, you then had to run the campaign. All bit kind of cradle to grave. And I remember back when LinkedIn was a client of mine, to the point where they were going to hand me over to someone else. I was like, no, I spent a year developing a relationship with this person. I'm now not going to start all over again with somebody who doesn't know the business. So you've got a choice here. You want to keep my business, I'm keeping Rob, or you're not keeping my business. They relented, and I was able to keep the initial contact, through the life cycle of the contract we have with them, because I was like, this is ridiculous. He knows me, he knows the business inside out. So do you think we're going to go back to, either whether it's through you or back into a big SaaS company? Do you think the full sales cycle model is going to come back? Should come back?
I'll tell you, honest truth here, I never even knew about the difference between the whole SDR model until I left my company, because I was always full sales cycle, full sales cycle to the point of chasing invoices. That's how full sales cycle I was. And it's like, what the fuck? So when I heard about this SDR model, it does work in some cases for our business because of that front end work that we've got to do. I think it is quite expensive to have 3 SDRs at, let's say, 2,500 quid. That's 7.5 grand, and then you're paying an AE 3 grand, when I could pay 2 dynamite AEs or 2 dynamite full sales cycle guys for 3 grand a pop, 6 grand total. Add the comms, and I'm still winning, as long as all the tedious, mundane tasks are all taken care of by us. They're literally just pitching, building the relationship, and selling. I can't say right now. I don't know if it would ever go back. I prefer the full sales cycle model, just because that's what I've been very successful with, and then I understand the whole picture. So for me, yes, I think full sales cycle is, but then again, all this Silicon Valley tech sales bubble, new sales specialization, all these new ideas, I'm lost in it. So I can't really say. I don't know what really
Yeah.
would be the most successful one moving forward.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting watching this from the sidelines, as it were, because I think I read somewhere that, or maybe me chatting to Marcus, that all these these big SaaS companies are running out of people to to sell to, because they're just selling to themselves, right? And they suddenly
Exactly.
into a new market like pharma or manufacturing, and all of a sudden their model and their approach doesn't kind of work in those different markets. So you've been going for, how long have you been going for now? Full 9 months?
The business actually registered in July, and our first client was the beginning of November. So I consider like the actual growth of the company from October of 2020. So not even 10 months.
Not even 10 months.
10 months.
So how big are you now? How many have you got on your team?
So we've got 8 people on the team right now.
Awesome.
It's quite exciting. Marcus Kauke is the chairman. We've got a great non-executive director out of South Africa, startup turnaround specialist, and then the team, myself, Antoine, my business partner, he's been running the show with me from the start, Dan, and then the team that we have. So 8 people, 3 clients right now, working on getting a few more over the next few months. I think what we want to do is keep a smaller group of clients.
Yeah.
We build those long-term partnerships with, and we can keep them for longer.
Yeah.
We don't want to be just a bunch of new logos and just churning and burning like some of these other clients. We hear the stories all the time.
Yeah.
So we want to be that niche focused company where you kind of got to get on a waiting list to get in touch with us. You've got to be on a waiting list to have this type of level of work, because what we do is it's not next day delivery. We're not Amazon over here. We're doing like, we're building a Mercedes-Benz AMG service that is top quality all the way.
Awesome. And what, in terms of your current client base, is it kind of tech SaaS world, or is it?
Yeah, so we want to be working with companies that are building really, really interesting computer software, IT companies, the AI models, cybersecurity. Like, we want to be where the future's going. I'm sure everybody's saying it too. But more importantly, we want to work with people who are fun. Like, we want to work with people who have energy, who are open to ideas, who are looking at trying new things, and really, they believe they can change the world. Like, as cheesy as it sounds in some cases, those are the companies that really do well. If you believe you change the world, you'll do quite well.
I can totally agree. So where's if those that are listening to this, where's the best place for them to come and find you to learn more in terms of how they can get on that waiting list, should we say? Oh,
well, look, LinkedIn is definitely the gold mine of the century right now. So getting on LinkedIn, just message me on LinkedIn. Cool. Our website is fully functional, fully interactive. Any type of engagement there comes directly to the team. And then our company page, the SalesDRIIVN company page, that's growing quite fast. So those 3 are the primary places to come find us.
I will put the links somewhere. I still can't do this on YouTube, where I'm supposed to be putting to put the links. I think it's going to be down there, isn't it? Around that. So if you're listening to this and you want to learn more about how Shane and his company can help you accelerate your business through intelligent business growth, I highly recommend you doing that. But Shane, I know I flipped this on its head. You wanted to interview me, and I was like, no, I'm going to.
Nice surprise.
My podcast. I'm still happy to do that interview, by the way. Shane, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for giving me some of your time, and no doubt your busy calendar. It's been great having you.
Thank you, mate. Really do appreciate it.
And as always, anybody listening to this, thank you for tuning in. If there's anybody that if you want to be on the podcast, you can hit me up with a message, or if you want to recommend anybody to this podcast, also hit me up with a message. But wherever you're in the world, stay safe, and I will see you all next week.